was broke, watching candles in a dim lit room. Now the charts look like rockets when the green lines zoom. Every day like a whisper saying buy me soon. While the bears in the comments yelling market doom. I don't gamble with luck, I calculate the storm. Like a captain reading tides when the waves get warm. Volume spikes like thunder when the bell gets rung. And the tape starts singing like a loaded drum. Style loss is tight like a seatbelt click. Why do weekends fold when the market gets slick? I've been studying patterns like a code in the sky. When the breakout hits, it's a king supply. Every red day's just fuel for the climb. Every scar in the chart turn gold over time. If the market's a jungle, then I'm built to survive. Turn a spark in the trade to a fire in my life. Light it up, trade like king, yeah, yeah. 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 Oh, trade like king. Market open like thunder when the bells scream loud. Got the wolves on the floor and the sharks in the crowd. But I move through the chaos like a ghost in the tape. Every wick tell a story, every level escape. Resistance like walls, but they crumble in time. When momentum comes rushing like a runaway rhyme. Every trade like a blade that I sharpen alone. Now the market paying rent on the throne I own. Light it up, trade like king, yeah, yeah. 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 Oh, trade like kings. Trade like kings. Trade like kings.
Oh, brother, oh, brother, oh, brother. Good afternoon, and welcome back to this special episode of the Mike Kohrs Show. Hey, how's everyone doing? New all-time highs starting to make us all feel a little bit crazy, and if you were like me, when you were long early in the day and you were forced to take some profits way too early, you also might be at a loss of words of what to say, because not only did we hit new all-time highs today, we are ripping. Absolutely rippity, skippity, doo-dah to new all-time highs. So congrats for all of you who played the overall market. SPY's ripping, Q's ripping, Russell ripping, major indices, Dow, everything's up. Individual equities, Palantir has not stopped pushing ever since its earnings. I haven't looked at Snapchat or Caterpillar. I assume they are still crushing it since their earnings. And now we're all getting ready, mainly for SpaceX, but I know we have some AMD fans in here, so we're going to talk a little bit about AMD as well. So, golly. This is always a dangerous question. I don't know if I should do it. Should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? Yeah. Okay. Am I going to get mad? Okay. Before you answer the question I'm thinking about asking you, and I don't know if I want your answer yet. I made money today, but I left a lot of money on the table, potentially in the realm of like 6 figures. I'm not mad. You're mad. No, you know what? I'm going to ask, how much money did you guys make today? Before I flip it over and show you guys that this thing is a runaway train, I do want to ask. I mean, look, it's a sea of green, folks. I mean, we're going to have to put on our specialty glasses. We're going to have to put on our helmet. It's one of those shows where it just won't stop. The SPY's up 2%. The Qs are up 3.55. The Russell's up 2. Bitcoin's up 1. Palantir's up 29%. SpaceX 8.7. AMD 8.8. They're ripping. SanDisk is up 10. Intel's up 10. Micron's up 8. Apple's up 2. Tesla's almost up 2. How's Caterpillar doing? They crushed earnings today. Caterpillar up 6, but gave some back, but still up 6.6. And then looking at Snapchat, up 14, Dude, the only thing that caused me to keep my sanity today was looking at my long-term portfolio. That was the only thing. Like, I sat there super, super angry. And then I was like, all right. And then I looked at my long-term portfolio and I was like, oh, okay. Like, you're actually fine given this. So when in doubt, turn it over to your biggest portfolio that is just net long, major tech plays, and then you'll feel a little bit better. I was waiting and it never joined. I had to reload YouTube. Oh, that's a little interesting. Well, okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you're here. That's awesome. I'm happy that you made it. Before we really get going today, just because we're kind of waiting for Power Hour to like get rocking, could you guys do me a really quick solid and just come to this tweet and like retweet it for me, get it out there, let the world know here. I'm going to put it in chat right now. So if you guys happen to have a Twitter account or if you're in the Discord or whatever like that, it's on my Twitter page at Matt_Kohrs. I literally just dropped it in chat. If you guys could little click that and then go there and then just hit this little button just to let the world know that we're talking about SpaceX and we're talking about the craziness that it might be. I'll probably end up reviewing this a little bit, but just to give you guys the skinny on the situation when the market closes, obviously we've already had a crazy week between Palantir, Snapchat, this morning, Pfizer, Caterpillar, McDonald's. Today, after the market closes, there's 2 to 3 big ones. The biggest one and why we're all here is SpaceX. It's its first ever earnings report, and we do have that. AMD, obviously a high-flying tech play, so I want to chit-chat about that. And then also Open Doors reporting, which is kind of like one of the most evident pump-and-dump scams, so I'm kind of curious to see how that is going to get going. Tomorrow, before the market opens, Eli Lilly, a pharma play, Shopify, Uber, Disney, Riot, Circle, Unity, Novo Nordisk, another mega pharma play. Tomorrow, after the market closes, we're hearing from SanDisk and Western Digital, another one in the realm of AI. Thursday, D-Wave, that's a quantum play. After the market closes on Thursday, DraftKings for all my sports gamblers, Airbnb, and then Friday, Oklo for nuclear, Wendy's, Take-Two Interactive, that's another gaming one. So kind of every day has a little something. I would say yesterday and today, well, tomorrow's pretty exciting too. Honestly, there's actually Friday's maybe the weakest, but there's a lot of good earnings to pay attention to. So, bringing it back specifically today, SpaceX, obviously I want to talk about, obviously we're also skyrocketing to new record highs, just so everyone knows. This is not SpaceX. Even though this looks like a rocket ship right now, this is in fact not SpaceX. This is the overall market trading like a freaking meme stock. This is SpaceX, which is actually doing really well today. Obviously, ever since its debut, it's down quite a bit. Ever since its debut, it is down 17%. Ever since its all-time high, it is down even more. It did top out at 225, currently down 44% from there. Remember, the IPO was priced at 135. So since the pricing, it's down 7%. So whether it's the IPO price, the market debut, or the all-time high, it is in the red. The only green is literally pretty much from, I guess, open yesterday. It is up 17%. But interesting opportunity. You guys know I'm in SpaceX, and I do want to show you that I have kept true to my word. I have kept my one SpaceX share. And you might be laughing at me and be like, but Matt, are you just doing that to prove a point that you have a share of SpaceX, one share right there? No, I did it. I like SpaceX. I like Elon. I think the company is going to be massively successful. I deeply believe that. I'm not saying that sarcastically, facetiously. There's not an ounce of malarkey or tomfoolery in that statement. The reason I'm not bigger into it right now is because if you study the history of APIs, I'm thinking about the Truth API and how I'm not spending $100,000 for it. Talking about SpaceX and its IPO, if you study the history of IPOs, especially high-flying tech ones, the first 6 to 8 to 12 to 16 months is pretty rough. They all open pretty high relative to their debut, which is or their IPO. They debut higher, and the IPO is already overpriced. The debut's all this FOMO, and like it's just this common you'll as soon as you look at IPOs, you're gonna realize that the really popular ones, they all have this pattern of a huge pop, a sell off, they settle, and then they start trading in their normal stock manner. So it's really no hate on SpaceX. I think it's going to be massively popular, massively successful. I deeply believe that. I think it's going to take time. I don't think this is going to happen overnight. But I have my one share just so I can say that I've been involved in this stock since day one. I want to be able to say that years from now. But obviously, I also don't want to just like piss away money. I'm down 24%. So I'm really happy I didn't put like 50K into it. So I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for things to calm down. I'm waiting for events such as this, its earnings, so I can like learn a little bit more about what's going on. So I am simply just waiting. And actually, this is a new play for me today. I wasn't supposed to show you guys this. This was just for the Discord. So the fact that you're seeing this right now, this is a new play for me. You're not supposed to see it, so you should probably sign up for the Discord. This is a new thing that I'm messing around with, up 10%, up 1.2K, so not bad. But new play for me today, it's a more of a leap, January 15th, 2027. So feeling decently good about it. But like I said, you guys weren't supposed to see it. This was not supposed to be for public consumption. So if you're not in the Discord, you should get in the Discord, or you're breaking the laws of the Matt Kohrs kingdom. And that is something you do not want to be doing. So just want to let you know what's going on there. My plan is to DCA into SpaceX for the next 2 years, $750 per month. I don't mind it. I myself am still waiting until like I trade off of chart data, even for investments. I think there's good and poor times to invest. And right now, it literally doesn't even have enough data to have the 50 EMA built out yet. Like it's just starting to get its full EMA cloud because we just don't have much data on it. So I'm simply waiting. I'm trying to be patient on it. Call sheet bets. So actually my producer said we could do call sheet bets. Are there call sheet bets live for SpaceX? There is. Ooh, Chante, Mademoiselle, I did not realize. Ooh, I did not realize we could do this. We have $926.89 to burn on this one, brother. We could say moon. We could say Mars. Mars has to be a hot one, dude. We're mission to fucking Mars. All right, we're tossing a hundo on that one. That's a fucking lock, brother. They just announced an Nvidia deal like seconds ago. If I can find it, why can I not find this? I saved the tweet for you guys. Did I lose it already? Did I lose my mind? SpaceX, Nvidia. They just going into earnings announced a partnership. SpaceX is partnering with Nvidia to design the Starmind satellite compute payload. So is Nvidia a bet? Is Nvidia something we could get into? Nvidia 60. Dude, that's free money, right? They literally just announced that partnership. Wait, am I the first one to realize this? They literally, am I losing my mind? Is this the easiest money of all time? SpaceX partners with Nvidia to design Starmind space data center satellite payload 11 minutes ago. And we're going into earnings. And they're not expected to ask about this? Dude, we're going 750 on this one. we're using most of the money on this one, brother. Dude, I feel like I am the market maker. Like I feel as if I'm front running. This is what it must feel like to have the information from Trump. Am I bearing Trump right now, folks? Is this what it feels like? Like just the market hasn't noticed it? Like, dude, right here, it's breaking news 10, 12 minutes ago. And bettors on call sheet have just not realized it yet. They think it's slightly above 50-50. I'm the one who pushed it to 67. It was at 60, 65, something like that. What the fuck? Of course, there's like a 90% shot. There's like, they literally just have a partnership with like the second, third biggest company in the world going into their first earnings. And you think that they're not going to say NVIDIA? I feel like this is free money. SpaceX announces new partnership with NVIDIA. SpaceX reports earnings in 30 minutes. Why announce right now? Like, if they don't say NVIDIA, actually, I should have looked at the bet. What did I actually bet on? If they don't say NVIDIA during this earnings call, it's rigged. This is 100% rigged if they don't say it. And the market makers are out to get me. And probably Netanyahu, if I really had to say. Unlock NASA, Starbase, StarMind. That's what they're working on. Well, that's the rest of my money, obviously. How much do I have? 76. We're maxing her out. All right. It's all on the line. 9:15. My cash is 91 cents left. 91 cents, bro. What if they avoid saying NVIDIA and just say Jensen? Why would they say Jensen? They're not going to say we partnered up with Jensen. They partnered up with NVIDIA. We struck a deal to, here's what's going to happen. They're going to say, good afternoon, everyone. We are pleased to discuss our first earnings call ever and focus on our mission to Mars. And we have great news that our mission to Mars will be made possible as we develop StarMind with our newest partner, NVIDIA. I'm going to hit this in the first 30 seconds of the call. You guys, you're laughing at me right now. You guys think I'm being bombastic. You think that I'm being hyperbolic. You think, he's just talking to talk. Folks, I'm going to smash these bets. It's not even going to be one of these things where we're sweating it out, waiting for the end of the call. It's going to happen in the first minute flat. And you guys are going to be thinking of this and be like, God damn, just some guys have it all. Some guys have it all. And I'm one of those guys. I'm the guy that has it all, and we're going to crush it. But not only do I have it all, I'm up a good 10% there. Watch this video. It just came out, full send. We could talk about that later. SpaceX. As the market's about to get going, we have 8 minutes left. Here's a look at everything. SpaceX 122. I'm being told by the trusty people within the Goonie Trading Discord, sign up for the Goonie Trading Discord, that the expected move is about $20. So it's about 15%. So we might end up at 100 flat. We might end up back above the IPO. We might get to 145. So anyone who is looking for this, it's about plus or minus 20 buckaroos. And then for those of you maybe playing AMD, because remember, AMD is going to be reporting as well. AMD's move is 7.4%. So you could do the math on that. If you need me to do the math on that, that math seems somewhat complicated. So 52 would be 10%. So it's going to be around low 40s. So plus or minus $40. All right. So that one's going to get moving as well. So big earnings, SpaceX, AMD. Obviously, we're still mainly here for SpaceX, which has been beaten down to the tune of from the peak to here. It's down $1 trillion. It's really, really down. At one point, let's see where it is. Top companies by market cap. It was not just above Tesla. It was way, way above Tesla. And ever since then, it's still above Tesla, but it's given back some of its trillions of dollars. A lot of people don't appreciate this. As of this moment, SpaceX is a more valuable company than Tesla. Did you guys know that coming in here? Did you guys really conceptualize the fact that SpaceX, which just made its debut, is the number 9 most valuable company in the world, and it is above Tesla, which has been trading for considerably longer? Tesla's number 11, Meta's number 10, SpaceX is 9, Saudi Aramco is 8, Broadcom, which is my newest play, is at 7, TSM is 6. They are doing all the manufacturing for the likes of NVIDIA, which is back to number 1. Apple, just last week, recaptured the crown of the most valuable company in the world. After its earnings, it dropped. So it keeps dropping as Google's going up and NVIDIA's going up as well. So NVIDIA's number 1, Google's number 2, Apple's number 3, Microsoft's number 4, Amazon's number 5, TSM, Broadcom, Saudi Aramco, SpaceX, Meta, and Tesla. And then I guess Berkshire Hathaway to wrap out the top 12. Dude, Micron is at 14. That's how much this recovery is for Micron. Where's Palantir now with this pop? Palantir jumped 15 places today. Do you guys appreciate how crazy that is? Palantir. Shout out to everyone who played Palantir because that stock crushed it today. PLTR jumped 15 spots. 15 spot. This thing was down in the 50s in the know nothing companies. They're like, when you're past number 50, you're basically selling lemonade to your neighborhood right here. It got out of the lemonade area, and it's now back funding with Chevron and General Electric, and also a company that apparently cares a lot about lambs, which that's weird if you ask me. But anyway, a little bit of a sell-off in the close, a little bit of profit taking in the final 5 minutes here. I'm assuming the MOC was negative, the market on close order. For those of you who don't know, every single day at 3:50, 10 minutes to go in the day, we receive what is called the MOC, the market on close. And there's a lot of trading, big volume spike every single day at 3:50, like clockwork. And today it was obviously selling, and we are dropping from 54. We are dropping like it is hot. Yeah, right through this negative gamma. Where are we going to close at today? The charm pressure is actually suggesting we close closer to 20. Wow. Are we really going to drop all the way down here? 2025? Are they going to drop this 12 points by close? That would be brutal. Ew. 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 That would not be the most ideal situation. But hey, butter up, buttercup. Butter up, buttercup, because we have a lot going on. So here's the deal. Speaking of deals, actually, let me get rid of this. Wow. Are they really going to sell this all the way down, these market makers, to 25? The only reason I'm coming up with that is I'm looking at the charm pressure map, and the node is down here. Like I said, 2025. That's some distance to go. They're cutting through. This is charm pressure, not gamma, and this comes a bit more into play at the end of the day. But that's a little bit of a mini rugging. Is that what they're going to do? Do they even have enough time left to do this? There's only 3 minutes left. If they crack 30, that's impressive. From 57 to 37 in like 10 minutes is a big move in itself, but I'm really curious if they're going to crack 30 and try to close this out at 25, just because that's where we're seeing the pressure from the market makers at the moment. That's going to be a wild close, if real. Insider information, they know something we don't. Probably not. It's just the MOC. I mean, we literally ripped to new all-time highs today. If you're not locking in as an active trader, if you're not taking some of your profits after this monster 4-day expanse, ripping to new highs when we already had a multi-standard deviation move, that's not insider information. That's just proper like portfolio management. I mean, I would argue proper portfolio management was taking it off at 7690, no less 7760. Like, that's not insider information. This is literally just like how you should manage your portfolio after 4 days of ripping, if you ask me. Now, maybe they have insider information, but if so, we're not going to find out about it, because this is just going to be covered up in like actually like legitimate portfolio management, in my humble opinion. All right, market's going to be closing in a little bit. We have SpaceX, we have AMD. I'll switch this over to the 1 minute. Actually, we see some SpaceX buying coming in close. You have some people excited about this potential NVIDIA deal. I want you to know that the SpaceX move is around $20. And then the AMD move is around $40, roughly, is kind of the predicted move dollar-wise that we're looking for. Both SpaceX and AMD are reporting. Obviously, I know many of you are excited about SpaceX, but I think a lot of you are excited about AMD as well. So I'm excited to see where this goes. Market's going to be wrapping up in 1 minute. So if you're trying to make some trades during regular market hours, this is your 60-second warning, sub 60 seconds. So if you're going to trade, hey, trade. Shut your eyes, click the button, trade with size, and I hope you absolutely rip it. Love me some Palantir. Been buying since under 10, dude. You made so much money on Palantir trading it under 10. It's trading at 163, up 30% on the day. Congrats, you deserve it. You legitimately deserve it. You really, really do. Wow. AMD selling off into close here. SpaceX, a little bit of a pop. All right. 10-second warning, folks. Whatever you're doing, you better do it quick, because the market's about to go dingity ding ding ding, and then we're going to be getting ourselves a little bit of an encore show. So here's the plan. Oh, dude, they are dumping it into close. Those dirty dogs. Those dirty, dirty dogs. Look at that dump into close right there. They try to pop it. Nope. That charm pressure is one bitch, isn't it? That charm pressure map is one crazy thing. All right. Where did they close her out? 3650-ish. General with, like, we're being really generous with the ish. Anyway, new all-time as of market close today. Highest recorded value ever, highest closing value ever on SPX 7758.21, highest level ever recorded on the S&P 500, and then also 7736.49 is the close. It is the highest closing value ever. So congrats to all of you who played. With respect to the NASDAQ, we did not make records. It is still has some distance to go. In fact, from this moment to the all-time high, we have about another 3.4% to go. If you were looking at the small cap sector, we didn't hit an all-time high, but we are pretty much there. We are at 0.3, 0.4% to go. So just wanted to call that out to everyone. Matt, I love you. I love you more. With your knowledge, I've been able to consistently make good decisions and have gone from 500 to 5,000 in a week. Appreciate you. Well, the fact that you're making good decisions, it tells me that you're watching someone else, because you're definitely not getting good decision making from this show. So you're kind of inadvertently admitting to cheating on me, and not just me, the rest of the community. You have found yourself red-handed in a whole different community. And I think you're going to have some questions to answer from the rest of the community members, but we could talk about that later. Okay, we do not have earnings yet. The earnings call, to be very clear, is at 4:30. So it's in about 30 minutes, but sometime between now and then, we are going to be getting the numbers. Did I just drop stream? Because my Discord just disconnected, but can you guys hear me still? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Can you feel me? Because my Discord just got disconnected, but it says my stream's still live, so I don't really want to drop the stream. I think I'm good. Thumbs up or thumbs down if you can hear me. Maybe, but you might be doing a thumbs up from a previous question. Okay, cool. Quick math question. 12 times 12. What if you know what 12 times 12 is? Answer that, and then I'll know that you guys are live currently. Just a quick little math. 12 times 12. 12 squared. 12 times 12 divided by 12 divided by 12. 12 times 12 divided by 12 divided by 12. Plus 12. 12 plus 12 more. Do that really quick math problem. Who said 128? Rodney. Where did you learn your math? Where did you learn your math, man? Dude, 128. All right, folks, we're live. SpaceX is doing something. We're trying to get the numbers. Then we're going to go over to the call. What is this one? They're saying oil's popping. Here we go. Here's the most recent information. SpaceX earnings call live update. Stock jumps almost 10% ahead. First earnings report IPO. All right, let's see what we got.
For SpaceX, it'll report its first earnings as a public company after the bell on Tuesday.
That's today.
Followed by the first major stock lockup expiration on Thursday. So with SpaceX down more than 20% from the IPO price, down more than 50% from its trading high, stakes are stratospheric, and not just for the company and for Elon Musk. Let's start with earnings. Starlink results, CapEx plans, those will likely matter the most. Starlink, which is part of connectivity, is the profit engine for SpaceX, and it counters big spending on both Starship and XAI as it builds an integrated AI tech stack that spans semi-manufacturing with Tesla, frontier AI models, and applications as it buys Cursor. The key question, how much does Starlink subscriber growth, NeoCloud deals with the likes of Anthropic and Google, and multi-billion-dollar government contracts offset that cash burn? As for stock lockup expirations, it starts Thursday when 911 million shares owned by some 20% of insiders become eligible to sell. Now, just to put that in perspective, SpaceX sold 629 million shares, or less than 5% of shares outstanding, in the IPO. So we're talking about a lot of supply poised to come online. That's just the start, too. More lockup expirations will follow. Through the end of September, the public float could triple overall. Take a look at that chart to see what I'm talking about. All of this isn't just expected to impact SpaceX either. Other space stocks have been selling off in the wake of the IPO. Could move in sympathy here. Wall Street's expecting more pressure. Short interest in SpaceX specifically sits at an estimated 35%. So we'll see what this week brings.
It's that final part that I wanted to talk about with all of you. I have the real-time short interest data on SpaceX. This is the most recent, the most reasonable, the most up-to-date data. And there was a huge jump today. Starting off today, there was a net borrow of 8.5 million shares against SpaceX. So someone out there in aggregate borrowed 10 million shares. There was a return of 2. So the aggregate net borrow was 8.5 million shares. And right now, by Ortex, which is going to be the best tool for this type of service, it is reported around 34%. 34%. Someone said the SpaceX numbers just came out. Let's see. SpaceX announces a new partnership with NVIDIA to design the Starmine AI-1 payload, bringing data center class compute into orbit. The partnership will use NVIDIA's Rubin GPUs and Vera's CPUs while increasing SpaceX's peak satellite computing capacity to 250 kilowatts. Right here, double beat. SpaceX Q2 earnings double beat EPS. They were expecting a loss. That's what these parentheses mean, a loss of 24 cents, and it was only a loss of 9 cents. And then in terms of sales, they were expecting 6.943 billion, and it came in at 7.814 billion. So it was a double beat. You heard it here first. SpaceX kind of actually putting a little bit of pressure on these shorts right now. How's the stock reacting in real time? Pretty much unchanged. Slightly up. I think a lot of it is going to have to do with the call. A lot of it's going to have to do with the call. How is AMD doing? Just out of curiosity here, AMD is up at the moment. AMD is up. SpaceX is kind of flat. Market SPY Qs are holding bigly. Well, some people are asking, so we might as well just do the AMD numbers really quick. Are they out, or is it just trading to trade? AMD leaking. People are asking. I'm not actually seeing the AMD numbers yet. If the AMD numbers come out, please let me know. AMD investors, listen up.
It's all right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just waking up, getting my life together here. Here's what we need from AMD today. So AMD looks like it's all about the guidance, by the way. Like everything else, they're going to report what this past quarter's revenue was, EPS, blah, 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 like whatever. It's really all about this guidance, okay? That's going to be the big number that moves the whole stock, either up dramatically or down or flat, right? Analysts are about a $12.5 billion guide, okay? AMD can't even be anywhere close to that number.
Right, that's like way too slow. Anyway, SpaceX just reported a fiscal second quarter result after the bell today, Tuesday, August 4th. The company's debut earnings report following its record IPO in June. Revenue, $7.81 billion versus the expected $6.93. So revenue beat. Loss per share was a loss of 9 cents. They thought it was going to be a loss of 26. It is definitely a double beat. It's the first time for Elon Musk, reusable rocket maker, to face Wall Street in this capacity, and investors are jittery. Since opening at 150 on June 12th, IPO at 135, SpaceX's stock has dropped 24%, wiping out close to $500 billion in market cap as of the close, and it's actually $1 trillion ever since the high because we got over 200. SpaceX lost $4.9 billion last year. Wow. That's a lot to lose. Largely due to hefty investments in AI infrastructure, the company merged with Musk's xAI in February, saying at this time that the vision was to build data centers in space, but even the launch business, which counts on large contracts from NASA, is losing money. Most of SpaceX's revenue for this year and its only source of profit came from its connectivity segment, which consists of Starlink satellite internet service, basically giving the entire globe internet. Starlink is sold directly to consumers as well as government and military agencies. Here's what analysts expect in terms of revenue from SpaceX's 3 segments according to Street Account. Space, 835, connectivity, 3.83 billion, and AI, 2.18. So right here, connectivity is Starlink. Starlink is where they're looking for the big money to be. The other ones are lower billion. Space is in the millions. One day the space segment should grow. But right now, we are looking for Starlink in the early days to be carrying the load. Obviously, XAI, Grok, Super Grok, they're looking for some good numbers there. 2.2 billion's nothing to sneeze at. Space, one day, obviously, that should theoretically be the biggest, but it's obviously in its infancy stages right now. And just so you guys know, the numbers are out. It was a double beat. As of this moment, the stock is slightly down. It's down by 1.9%. But I think the call is really going to get some stuff moving. It's really going to get some stuff moving. And if it does, that's not going to be so good for the shorts. Right now, the short interest is estimated to be 34%. Earlier today, and this is why I'm bringing it up now, if you were on the morning stream, and hey, if you're new to the show, what's up? My name's Matt. Great to meet you. The utilization rate, the amount of shares out on loan versus how many could theoretically go out on loan at that moment in time, it was not 100%. Now it's maxed out. So this net borrowing of, oh, wow, it jumped up to 9.6. So right at the end of the day, someone borrowed an extra million shares. If you rewind this stream 10 minutes ago, this was down at, the net was going to be 8.5. So there was an extra million shares borrowed against SpaceX right at market close. Like, we saw that play out in real time. That's actually kind of crazy. An extra million shares. That is nuts. So anyway, extra million borrowed against SpaceX. We don't know if they're short or not, because remember, to take a legal, legitimate, proper short position, you first take it out on loan and then you sell it back to the market. Just because you took it out on loan doesn't mean you have to sell it back to the market. That's why the shares out on loan are always going to be higher than the short interest. And right now it's kind of assumed to be about 50%. Shares out on loan are 413 million. The estimated short is 213, but it could be all the way up to 413. Like, that's actually possible. These are all the best estimates from Ortex based on other data that they have. But anyway, what you need to know is right now the amount of shares that are being offered to go out on loan are taken out on loan, but this number is going to change quite a bit as of Thursday when some of the lockup periods actually end. So just wanted to properly share that with all of you. Where are we? Okay, we definitely don't need that. I don't think we really need this at this moment in time. SpaceX going down a little bit. Here's SpaceX. Slightly down. AMD is slightly up. Okay, so pretty much I would say, based on how this is moving right now, not at all really impacted from the numbers, which tells me that this call is going to probably have quite the wallet behind it. You know, actually, I have a pretty cool tool to show you guys. Nope, that's my control panel. Don't look at that. Stop looking at that. I have a pretty cool tool to show you. Let me get connected, and we could see where some of the big money is at on SpaceX, at SPCX. Okay, hopefully I typed that in properly. SPCX. Why is that not working? Is this on? Okay, is this? No, here we go. Okay, SpaceX, is this? Okay, yeah, currently trading at 122. So the yellow boxes are the calls. The blue boxes are the puts. So for the August 7th expiration, there's obviously more put open interest than call open interest. Same thing with the 14th expiration. Same thing with the 21st. What's interesting is there's a lot of put open interest for the end of this month at 125. They're in the money right now, but I wonder if there's going to feel pressure when they get out of the money. The change today, a lot of call buying today. This is not just, this is the current open interest. This is the open interest change. And for SpaceX today, a lot of people buying calls. They bought it for this week. So going into this, there is optimism. Are these players right? Are they wrong? I don't know, but there is a net buying of about 22,000 calls on SpaceX. And in terms of the strike, it looks like people were looking at the 130s and at the 120s. So what do we have here? Volume, okay. Yeah, call buying, some put buying as well. For next week, call buying, and then we had some put selling. This is what jumps out to me. The interesting thing here is there's a bunch of call buying going on for August 21st, and it looks as if they're focused on 135. So there's seemingly a bet by roughly the end of this month for the stock to get back to its IPO value. Now, once again, this is what big money is betting. Are they right? Are they wrong? I'll tell you better on August 22nd. But just right now, I can fairly tell you for this week, People were buying calls today for the 130 strike. And then for next week and the week after, people were buying 135s. With that being said, it looks like some puts were being bought for this week around 115. For next week around, what is that, 108, and then 110 for the end of the month. So there's some clear bulls. There's some clear bears as well. I would say the bulls have bigger size, but we'll still see if they are right or if they are not right. So just wanted to kind of give you a breakdown of some of the interesting changes we saw throughout the day. I see SpaceX right now is taking a little bit of a hit. The expected move by the end of this week is about 18 buckaroos. So we can come back to that. Ooh, AMD getting clocked. What happened to AMD? AMD just got clocked. Must have missed. And it did not. EPS beat, revenue beat. So AMD with the double beat drop, the old double beat drop. Folks, I get that AMD is going down in real time, dropping from 523 to 481, but it beat. SpaceX actually also beat. So both of these beat and are going down. Let's see if we can dive into what in the world is happening. So AMD numbers just came out, 415. SpaceX numbers are already out. Ooh, what's this?
Well, the funding when you're spending $18 billion and they only had $8 billion of revenue, so it's
but I mean, in terms of we've seen it before in terms of cloud growth. Growth was enough to say, you know what, we're going to give them a free pass for now.
Well, this earnings call is going to be incredibly important. It's starting just in 15 minutes here, and they're going to give a lot of guidance, I think, on what's happening with the whole business model, because estimates are absolutely all over the place, and it's a very, very difficult company to analyze at this point. But if they are seeing the revenue that we expect on the AI infrastructure, we think the stock can do very well.
Do you think they'll give that sort of indication? I mean, we had to wait for so long from the hyperscalers to get any sort of ROI kind of number.
I don't know if they'll give ROI, but I think they're going to have to give us some indication of what the CapEx trends are going to be and somewhat on the revenue trends the next couple of years. I mean, same thing, there's a lot of unknowns. We'd like to know when the Starship is going to go into commercial service is going to be really key. But, I mean, they almost have like 10 critical questions that we all have for the management team. And I think that'll dictate what the stock does tonight.
Mm-hmm. If you hold on, Tim, we want to go to Christina Partsinevelos, who's got AMD results. They are out right now. Christina, what are the numbers?
So it's a beat on the top and bottom line, $1.66 earnings per share. That is a record for the company on revenues of $11.5 billion. In the release, it's saying that's up 50% year over year. But you can see the stock is dropping dramatically, down about 10%. Some of that might have to do with just the data center revenue. That did drive a lot of the beat, but it came in at $6.7 billion. When I was going through some sell-side research notes, the whisper number, a lot of them were expecting it to hit roughly $6.7 billion. That's specifically CPUs and GPUs, which drives roughly 58% of their business. As for the guidance, too, that midpoint guide for Q3 revenue coming in at $13 billion. The street was anticipating $12.5 billion. So it could possibly be that as well. Just you can see some of it rebounding, but perhaps it was just the guide not being big enough and the data center revenue beat not being big enough as well.
All right, Christina, keep us posted. Christina Partsinevelos, AMD shares down about 8%. They were up strongly during the regular session, up by about 8%.
This is why I hate earnings.
So, Tim, on that call, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to hear Elon Musk in this first sort of earnings call for SpaceX. What are the sort of the key numbers that you want to get that we haven't gotten from the release?
Well, first off, we'd like to know Starship. Like, when is that going to go into commercial use? How many Starships will they build? How quickly can they turn that around? And that's going to lead to everything else. That's going to lead to the V3 next generation of communication satellites, which are going to have 10 times more capacity. It's going to lead to data centers in space and 5 other industries that we don't really know all that well. But we'd also just like to know how much AI infrastructure they plan on building down here on Earth until they get the data centers going, in space at this point. And even if that capacity, how much are they going to resell to others? How much are they using internally? A lot of that's going to depend on how Grok and how Kohrs are doing. And then the data centers in space, we really like to know what's going on with Terafab. They have a trial out there right now to build their own chips. Do they need those chips that really have scale in space with data centers? Because they'll probably be operating at much higher power levels. So an incredible amount of questions, really.
That's a lot. In terms of, the lockup expiration is looming still. So what do you tell clients who are interested in this stock? I mean, do you just think that there are just so many other entry points with all these lockup tranches that will be released?
I actually think the stock will bounce on this unlock. I think it's only about 20% of the shares. It seems like a lot of people are anticipating that the stock will be weak when that happens, but I think the opposite will probably happen. But it's a bit of an issue. There's definitely going to be a lot more liquidity out there. But as long as they're hitting numbers and doing very, very well, and especially for the long-term growth, I think it'll be okay.
Tim, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oren. We want to get back to Christina Partinelli, who's got more on AMD.
Yeah, I can just add to it. Oh, you're talking to me. That's because the
Yes.
producer was in my ear. But I just wanted to mention that gross margins, that has a big part of it, too. The gross margins were 56% for the quarter that we just reported, and they're staying at 56%, too. So we're not seeing any increase there. A lot of that has to do with the cost of building out the more expensive GPUs, the Helios rack systems. So perhaps, too, a third element as to why we saw shares sell off. But, of course, you saw momentum driving this name higher today, too.
Yep. Christina, thanks for the update.
Sorry.
Up next, we'll get instant reaction to those numbers and what they're telling us about the chip trade. You're watching Closing Bell Overtime live from the NASDAQ market site.
All right. So if you're just joining right now, welcome, welcome, welcome. We're here to mainly talk about SpaceX. AMD also had earnings. And what's interesting is, as you can see on the chart, even though we had a phenomenal day, SPY ripped, new all-time highs. NASDAQ ripped. Not new all-time highs, but impressive gains. We're now waiting on SpaceX and AMD's earning calls. The numbers are out. They both beat. They both beat on revenue. They both beat on EPS. They're looking good. Looks like AMD maybe didn't beat enough, maybe had some gross margin issues, maybe some CapEx issues, but overall, like, just the clear numbers were a beat, and it's obviously in the details that explains why we dropped from 530 all the way down to 470, but that's pretty brutal. SpaceX, we don't really have anything else. We don't have really details quite yet. And as that guy, I didn't catch his name, was talking on CNBC, we have a lot more questions than anything else at this moment. So hopefully their first ever earnings call does really clear some of that up. But I can't be more clear than this. Whether it clears something up or not, the only thing that really matters is that they say the word NVIDIA. That's all that, dude. They could say, we've been to Mars and we found little green men who dance around and degenerately gamble on zero DTs. That is fine. I don't care. That would be cool. It would be interesting. Cool. What matters is that they say the word NVIDIA. Your boy bet $750 for $1,000+ payout that they say the fucking word NVIDIA, so they better say the word NVIDIA. That's what we're all really listening for. I know you guys might be tuning in thinking to yourself, all right, like, I have some calls, I have some puts, I have some stock when I should be buying, not buying. Yeah, that's great. Cool. Whatever. I wish you the best of luck. But I cannot explain this more than, like, I cannot be more crystal clear, more concrete in my statements than this statement here. They better say the word NVIDIA. They better say it. Because this is the first time I ever feel like I had insider information. I went over to Twitter, and they're all like, yo, SpaceX just got to deal with NVIDIA. SpaceX just got to deal with NVIDIA. SpaceX got to deal with NVIDIA. Come to Kohrs, and the chance of SpaceX during the earnings call saying the word NVIDIA was trading at like 60, 65 cents. It feels like for once in my life, I was the one front-running information. Can't listen to this. If you're going to curse, I have kids in the room. Easy fucking solution, brother. Kick the kids out of the room. I don't know. I'm not your mom. Chris, grow up. Be an adult and tell the kids to go play outside for about 30 to 45 minutes, maybe even an hour. Chris, I'm not going to be the one who tells you how to parent, but I'm going to be the one to tell you that they better say the word NVIDIA. They better say it. And if they don't, your kids are going to hear some words that you definitely don't want them hearing. So it's not on me. You honestly, legitimately, Chris, I understand where you're coming from, but you can't get on me. My behavior and my statements are going to be incredibly impacted by just, do they say this one word or not? I'll be calm, cool as a clam. A clam on a cucumber, I think is what they say, if they say the word NVIDIA. If they don't say the word NVIDIA, I highly recommend you dropping this stream as quickly as you possibly can. Like, you might want to just take a bat to the old monitor because it's going to be a brutal one. Hey, Chris, Chris, I'm trying. Help me, help you, help me. That's kind of the stage we're at. You're going to want to shut the stream down real quick. Real quick. Just trying to be honest with you. If they don't say the word NVIDIA, we're going to have problems. Speaking of that, oops. Okay. We have the stream. Financial and operational results Q2 of 2026 SpaceX. And we're getting going. They should have a live chat in here so we can all spam it. Oh, speaking of spamming stuff, if you guys could do me a huge favor and let the world know that we're here to party, if you guys could just slap this a quick retweet for the 6 of you who did that, that was a huge help. Thank you. Here, I'll drop it in chat now that we have a lot more people in here. The goal is to get a lot of people on here cheering on the word NVIDIA, if I'm being completely honest with you. I just dropped the link in chat. If you guys could go to that, if you happen to have a Twitter, and just hit that little retweet button, that would be a huge help. But folks, everyone just needs to stay calm, cool, collected. Seriously. Everyone just needs to, we just have 4 minutes, and then what they're going to do by 4:31, I already told you what they're going to say. With our stated mission of going to Mars, powered the star mine, whatever it is, we are partnered with NVIDIA. They need to say Mars, NVIDIA, and star mine. But mainly they need to say NVIDIA. Mainly they need to say NVIDIA. Quick side note, Matt, oil is dropping. Dude, we're going to Mars. It doesn't even matter. Mars doesn't even have oil. They're little green alien dudes. They're doing other stuff over there. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about oil. Where we're going, we're not going to need oil, brother. All right? Come on. Get your mind out of the gutter. That's Earth problems. Right now, are you another Chris? How many Chris's? Are we getting attacked by Chris's in here? Why are there so many gosh darn Chris's? I don't know. It feels like we're getting raided by a horde of Chris armies right now. But anyway, that's a true side point. We're dealing with space stuff now. Wait, like honestly, legitimately, we're dealing with space stuff. We don't have time to talk about earthly problems like, is there oil? What's oil? No. We're talking about real space stuff. If I play, can you guys hear this? I don't think so. You guys can hear me, but not this, right? It's just playing elevator music. Place your odds on Matt saying the F word. Well, it's going to be inversely related to them saying NVIDIA. If they say NVIDIA, Chris's kids get a Happy Meal from Uncle Matt, yeah, I'll send him a Happy Meal. I'll send him some Mickey D's money. That's fair. That's a fair agreement. Matt Kohrs is a degenerate gambler. Almost right. Matt Kohrs is the best degenerate gambler. You forgot one little word in there. It's just the best degenerate gambler, not just degen gambler, best degen gambler. Folks, I told you, I'm cooking this one up on insider information. And by insider information, I think I just read it first on Twitter before other people read it. And we're cooking. We're cooking. All right. I'm getting jacked up. How's this all going to go? What's this? They're on break. SpaceX popped today. Join the Discord. Trade with Tradeify. Use that code Goonie. We're just getting out of the tabs at this point. We don't need that. We already know the bet. I don't know what they're doing over here. Here's the call. Come on, brother. Shout out to everyone who retweeted it. All right. Look alive. What do you guys want? The 15-second chart? Are we going to be really degenerate with it? Here's a look at her in all her glory. Debuts at 150, IPO at 135. What was the all-time high? 225 and a little bit of change. All right. Buckle up, Buttercup. This ain't Kansas anymore. Do you think SpaceX earnings is bad? No, it was a beat, but we don't know anything else yet, and that's what we're about to find out in about a minute. Time's ticking away. 15 seconds. All right, bets locked in. I said yes to Mars, yes to NVIDIA, yes to Starmine. Oh, and just so you guys know, I am a heavy SpaceX investor. I have an entire share right here. So I want to be transparent with you. Financially, I have a lot on the line with this particular earnings. Are we going? I know you guys can't hear anything yet, but there's someone just said, when is it starting? Should be now, 4:30, like right now. Come on, come on, come on. What are we doing? What are we doing? Closing bell overtime. All right, they're just jacking it up. All right, trade. We did get as high as 131. We did get as low as 114. Currently trading at 119 on SPCX. The call should have been starting -1 minute ago. -1 minute ago. Will we be able to hear the earnings call? No, I'm just going to recite every word back to you. I'm going to hear it, and then whatever they say, I'm going to say it back to you.
Thank you for joining us today for SpaceX's second quarter 2026 earnings conference call.
NVIDIA.
I'm Andrea Williams, Head of Investor Relations. Joining me today are Elon, Gwen, and Brett, and we are speaking to you from our facility in Bastrop, Texas. Our second quarter financial results were announced just after 3 p.m. Central Time, and all relevant materials have been published to our investor relations website at ir.spacex.com. For this webcast, our prepared remarks will be followed by a question and answer session. We will take live Q&A from equity analysts and then move to questions directly from our investors that were polled on our dedicated earnings Q&A platform. Thank you to everyone who submitted your questions in advance. During this webcast, we will discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements. These statements are based on our predictions and expectations as of today. Actual events or results could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those mentioned in our most recent filings with the SEC, including our final prospectus and today's published Form 10-Q. Additionally, during this call, we may discuss certain non-GAAP measures. In our press release and our filings with the SEC, you can find additional disclosures, including all reconciliations with comparable GAAP measures. For the second quarter of 2026, we announced the following financial results as compared to the prior year quarter. Revenues of $7.8 billion, up 92% from $4.1 billion, a quarterly net loss of $541 million, an improvement of $467 million, an adjusted EBITDA of $3.5 billion, up 191% from $1.2 billion. Now I will hand the call over to Elon for his opening remarks.
Say NVIDIA. Fucking say NVIDIA.
Thank you. So it's been another milestone year for SpaceX so far. We're making great progress developing a fully and rapidly reusable, reliable rocket with Starship. We're connecting millions more people globally across 170 markets with fast, reliable Starlink internet. We're building AI compute capacity at scale faster than anyone else, we believe. And we're significantly improving our AI models, most notably with the release of Grok 4.5 last month. And now I'll dive into each of those topics separately. So with Starship, we completed 2 successful flights of Starship B3 in the past 90 days. Flight 13 demonstrated core capabilities necessary to achieve an orbital mission and return to Starbase for catch. And on Flight 14 will be our first flight to fly our version 3 Starlink satellites, our communication satellites, to operational orbit. We will try to actually catch the first and the second stage of Starlink V3 this year, and we could possibly catch the ship as soon as the next flight. It's difficult to actually explain to most people just the incredible significance of Starship. And I think perhaps describing it in terms of tonnage to orbit is a good way to appreciate the magnitude of the impact Starship will have on the future of civilization. So right now, we deliver, call it roughly 2,500 tons a year to orbit via Falcon. And this is a big number by normal standards. The rest of the world, I think, delivers around 300 tons. So we deliver, 80 to 90% of total Earth mass to orbit per year with Falcon. Now with Starship, our aspirations, and I think we will achieve these aspirations, are to deliver well over 1 million tons to orbit per year, and probably ultimately 10 million tons per year. So this is not like if you had a chart where you plotted things, you would need a very, very big table to put the chart on to see, to even see any of our competitors on that chart, and to make that. So our next biggest competitor was 1 pixel high on the bar chart. You would still need a very big bar chart to represent the SpaceX Starship vehicle. And it's worth noting that we actually encourage our competitors to copy us. We do nothing to slow them down. We actually launch competing satellite constellations at the fair prices, the same price we charge everyone. So we do encourage our competitors to copy us, but it's quite difficult to copy something like Starship. But we don't use patents as sort of a landmine exercise to stop people from copying us. We actively encourage it. So, anyways, but when you think about it on that, so we go from 2,500 tons a year to 1 million, potentially 10 million tons per year. It's really a ridiculously profound difference. But that is our plan, and I think we will achieve that plan. Regarding Starlink, it's also worth just noting that the Starlink V3 satellite is about an order of magnitude more capable than the Starlink V2 satellite, which was already a very capable satellite. And we expect to launch about an order of magnitude more Starlink V3 satellites. So that would mean a roughly 2 order of magnitude increase in the delivered bandwidth. Even if our monetization per bit dropped by a factor of 10, that would still mean a 10x increase in the revenue of Starlink. So I think people are really underestimating Starlink here. So this is a big deal. It's kind of hard for people to wrap their minds around this, but it's not out of the question that at some point Starlink will deliver a majority of the world's internet, at least in countries where we're allowed to operate, which is the vast majority of countries. So this is important to bear in mind, and it's not in like the infinity future. It's less than 10 years. With the advent of AI and humanoid robotics and vehicle robotics and just a massive number of robots, the appetite for bandwidth will be much greater than it has been in the past. If you think of a human consuming perhaps or producing perhaps about a few hundred bits per second of output, and actually the average human is outputting less than 1 bit per second over the course of a day, which is 86,400 seconds. Now, computers, could easily do billions of bits per second continuously over a 24-hour period. So this is
in the crowd, man. Bring it back.
Why I would expect the appetite for bandwidth to grow dramatically with the growth of AI and robotics. And really, I think Starlink is the only thing that can actually service that bandwidth. Regarding AI, we're making rapid progress on Grok, because Grok 4.5 was a huge improvement. And we have Grok 4.6 coming out probably next week. And then Grok 4.7 is about 3 or 4 weeks from today. And we expect the cadence of AI development to improve dramatically. And then with Grok 5, which should be out before the end of this year, we will be incorporating the entire corpus of SpaceX data, basically all the data that SpaceX has ever produced, which is a tremendous amount over the course of a quarter century, will be incorporated into Grok training. And we think this will make Grok by far the best engineer. So this is these are all like very, very big things. In addition, of course, we are providing compute to others, and we are building and deploying compute, I think faster, or our rate of growth certainly is faster than anyone else. And our efficiency of compute deployment, I think, is also the highest. So we expect to end this year with over 2 gigawatts of compute. And probably our cumulative compute online by the end of next year will be several times higher. So it may, let's say, be closer to 10 gigawatts of compute than 5 gigawatts of compute. That's a way to think about it. And going forward, we've decided to build exclusively on NVIDIA because we think the Vera Rubin architecture is the best architecture.
1K
we think it's the best AI computer.
Build on NVIDIA.
And we greatly value our close cooperation and partnership on many levels with NVIDIA. So we're exclusive to NVIDIA.
Say it, brother. Say it, Chris. McDonald's on
this
me,
new capacity
brother.
coming in line will obviously further benefit the development of
Fucking
Grok,
say it.
as will our Kohrs acquisition,
Dude.
Which should close quite soon. I think we're through
that's
almost
how we
all
do
of the
it.
regulatory hurdles.
Yeah,
And then with respect to the StarMind AI satellite,
StarMind,
which will be essentially an optimized
we're nailing everyone.
Vera Rubin NVL72 computer.
Nailing it. Nailing it.
This is not some sort of
Easiest $1,000 in my life.
far future distant thing. We expect to start launching these next year. And we think the design of the NVL72 VR computer is a much better design than is typical, than say having a standard rack style design. And so we expect to actually deploy this on the ground as well as in orbit, because we think it's going to be a radical simplification of the normal NVL72 rack. It will cost less. It'll be more effective.
We just gotta say Mars.
And so if we're going to put it in space, why not put it on the ground?
Say Mars.
So I think that's going to be pretty cool. In conclusion, the SpaceX team is solving some of the hardest engineering problems in the history of humanity, and I think the team is succeeding because I think we've got, in a lot of ways, the smartest, most dedicated team of humans that has ever existed. I'm incredibly proud to work with such a team, and I'd like to thank the team for their incredible hard work. And also thank you to investors who have supported us along the way.
Thanks, Elon. We had an exceptional second quarter, and today I'll focus on the operational and commercial highlights, as well as the initiatives we are prioritizing going forward. Starting with our space business, we remain the leading launch provider globally, with 78 total launches and 1,041 tons of mass to orbit delivered in the first half of this year, primarily allocated to our own internal Starlink missions, but with great customer missions as well. While our launch capabilities are key to supporting our connectivity business, we continue to have a very robust commercial manifest and a very robust and growing U.S. government mission demand, which drives revenue for the segment. We're currently launching at our highest Falcon cadence and are on the precipice of operationalizing Starship. As Elon said, the first 2 flights of our V3 Starship vehicles put us in an excellent position to achieve our near-term goals of reaching orbit catching and reusing the ships and boosters, and deploying our V3 Starlink broadband satellites. Speaking of which, Starlink had a standout quarter driven by continued growth across our consumer, enterprise, and government businesses. During the second quarter, we added net more than 1.7 million Starlink subscribers globally, consumer. This reflects our best quarter of new customers to date, an increase from the 1.4 million we added during the first quarter. We achieved this by holding ARPU, which is the average revenue per user, stable at $66 per month compared to the first quarter. We ended the second quarter with service availability in 167 markets and have continued to activate new markets since then, with some very exciting announcements coming soon, maybe even as early as today. As of June 30th, our constellation of operational Starlink, broadband, and mobile satellites in orbit grew to roughly 10,200, with our 9,600 broadband satellites delivering roughly 800 terabits per second of total downlink capacity. Following a successful speed run test of the V3 Starlink satellites on the most recent Starship launch, during which we connected every satellite through every laser link, we intend to deploy V3 satellites into the constellation for operational use on the upcoming Starship missions. The significant amount of capacity we're able to add to the Starlink constellation from the V3 satellites will enable us to continue providing even better service. I think it's pretty great already, but to do so while serving more and more customers over the world. In fact, in the years ahead, we expect Starlink will represent a significant portion of global internet traffic, which Elon also talked about. We also see significant growth opportunities for Starlink in enterprise and government, on the enterprise and government side of the business. We believe revenue from these markets have the potential to reach a scale at least comparable, but likely exceed our consumer business as we continue to gain share. In the second quarter, we signed a major agreement with American Airlines, as well as activated our service with new partners, including Southwest, Virgin Atlantic, Iberia, and Aer Lingus. We have become the provider of choice among major airlines with outstanding customer feedback, but still have significant room for growth. In fact, we heard from one of our airline customers, shockingly, customers are flying shorter hop flights instead of direct, so that they could ensure that they're on a Starlink activated flight. They'd never seen this in the business before. On the government side, we won more than $6 billion in U.S. contracts in Q2, supporting major Space Force programs that offer our nation mission-critical communications and sensing capabilities, and we see even more room for growth in this sector in this coming year.
Oh, I'm getting destroyed
in
on
Q2,
Mars.
we also launched the new Starlink mobile partnerships with international carriers, including SoftBank, NTT Docomo, and Spark New Zealand. Our near-term priority is launching mobile V2 satellites on Starship ahead of integrating the 65 megahertz of EchoStar spectrum later next year. This spectrum transfer was recently approved by the FCC and represents a foundational competitive advantage for Starlink Mobile. In AI, the industry is hurtling towards ever more compute demands. We're rapidly expanding our compute capacity to meet our own needs as Grok expands, as well as those for other leading companies such as Google and Anthropic. In terms of our own Grok models, the enterprise feedback on rollout of Grok 4.5 has been very positive so far. Token consumption tripled out of the gate after the July release, and we continue to see strong signals on usage and monetization for the model. We're looking forward to welcoming the Kohrs team to SpaceX to integrate our engineering and begin to benefit from a combined sales capability. In review, our momentum as a business is extraordinary. Our engineering teams are scaling Starship and our next-gen satellites, while our sales teams expand Starlink, aviation, mobility, and global markets. At the same time, we're bringing on additional compute capacity and expanding and deepening our AI partnerships across a broader set of customers. And though I've been in this business for 24 years, I could not be more excited about the months ahead with all the exciting and amazing things going on. It really feels like we're just getting started all over again.
To do what, though?
Now I'll turn the call over to Brett.
Brett, you better.
Thank you, Gwen. We demonstrated strong results in Q2.
Brett.
Revenue growth accelerated across every segment. We narrowed our net losses by nearly half. and on a year-over-year basis, and we grew adjusted EBITDA meaningfully faster than revenue. Importantly, we significantly strengthened the balance sheet through our IPO and inaugural investment-grade bond offering. The combination of our global launch leadership, recurring Starlink revenue, and rapid growth in AI infrastructure continues to drive improved operating leverage. Now I'll walk through the financials for each segment. For the space segment, revenue grew 55% sequentially and 29% year over year to $962 million, driven by a higher number of larger customer launches and a favorable customer mix. Segment costs and expenses rose $389 million year over year, and we continued to accelerate R&D investments in our Starship program. Starship aims to quadruple payload capacity and reduce launch costs by 10 times compared to our Falcon 9 rocket, unlocking significant capabilities across all of our business segments. We continue to make progress building the infrastructure required to support thousands of Starship launches per year, including accelerating Raptor and launch vehicle production, the build-out of our gigabays, and making significant progress towards activating multiple launch pads at Starbase and in Cape Canaveral at Pad 39A and Pad 37. Space adjusted EBITDA was a loss of $205 million for the quarter, primarily reflecting these higher R&D expenses. Moving to the connectivity segment, revenue was up in the connectivity segment was up to $4.3 billion, up 32% sequentially and 66% year over year. Growth was driven by record net additions of Starlink subscribers and a sharp increase in enterprise and government revenue. Starlink subscriber ARPU was $66, unchanged compared to Q1. As we continue our global expansion, we're taking a localized go-to-market approach that ensures our product and service offerings fit local needs. While our geographic expansion may drive down blended ARPU over time, we anticipate continued subscriber momentum to deliver strong revenue growth. Enterprise and government revenue grew 108% year over year and represents a durable source of revenue, contributing to strong segment margins overall. As Gwen mentioned, we see enormous opportunity for growth in this segment, as we remain, for example, less than 10% penetrated in one of the largest segments being aviation.
How much penetrated?
Total costs and expenses for the connectivity segment increased $970 million, or approximately 58% year over year. The increase was driven by higher spend to support our revenue growth, including growth in our satellite constellation, increased R&D investment for our next-gen version 3 satellites, and incremental marketing spend. As Elon mentioned, our version 3 satellites are expected to deliver 10 times the amount of broadband capacity and data density from our current generations, which I think we believe are already pretty amazing, and which are essential to supporting continued subscriber growth and higher value service tiers. Income from operations from the connectivity segment increased 79% year over year to $1.7 billion, outpacing revenue growth and driving nearly 3 points of operating margin expansion. Connectivity segment adjusted EBITDA rose 64% year over year to $2.6 billion. AI segment revenue was $2.6 billion, up 213% sequentially and 247% year over year. The increase was driven primarily by new cloud services agreements, as well as growth in Grok and X subscription revenue. Advertising revenue grew 7% sequentially as we overhauled our advertising platform technology to enable AI functionality and enhance self-service for all customer types. In Q2, we entered into cloud services agreements providing access to compute capacity at our Colossus and Colossus 2 sites. The initial ramp from these agreements contributed $1.6 billion of incremental AI infrastructure revenue in the quarter. Total costs and expenses for the AI segment rose $1.6 billion year over year, reflecting increased R&D, primarily due to higher infrastructure spend as we accelerated compute deployment. we meaningfully narrowed our AI segment net operating loss to $1.3 billion and turned adjusted EBITDA positive for the segment in the second quarter at $1.1 billion. The incremental revenue from new hosting deals generated high incremental EBITDA margins as we monetized available compute capacity. We ended the second quarter with 1.4 gigawatts of nameplate compute, up from 1 gigawatt in Q1 and 400 megawatts a year earlier. We expect to end this year at over 2 gigawatts of compute capacity. Total company capital expenditures in the second quarter were approximately $18.4 billion, of which roughly $15.8 billion supported AI compute infrastructure. The remainder funded ongoing Starship and launch infrastructure, satellite production, and global ground station expansion. Additionally, we paid out $856 million during the quarter under our spectrum credit agreement related to our pending EchoStar transaction. Our capital allocation priorities remain clear and disciplined. We plan to continue to invest aggressively in the three areas we believe generate the highest long-term returns: Starship development and production scale, next-generation Starlink broadband and mobile constellations, and AI compute infrastructure. Across all three of these investments, we remain focused on capital efficiency, return on investment, and preservation of a strong investment-grade balance sheet. The second quarter was transformative from a capital markets perspective. We completed our initial public offering, raising approximately $85.7 billion in net proceeds, and followed that with a $25 billion inaugural investment-grade senior notes offering that was partially used to repay our $20 billion bridge loan. The senior notes were issued across 5 tranches with a weighted average interest rate of 5.855% and average maturity of 11.7 years. We ended the quarter with $100 billion of cash equivalents, and marketable securities, and $47.5 billion in backlog. Looking ahead, we continue to see robust demand in all three of our business segments, but in particular in our cloud services arrangements. We see increasingly favorable economics with each agreement we sign, and as Elon mentioned, we expect the supply-demand imbalance in the compute market to continue. The current economics have translated into a less than 1 year payback on our new capital deployments for compute. For example, in the first few weeks of the third quarter, we've already contracted an additional $6.7 billion of cloud services revenue over a 6-month period that begins ramping starting in October of this year. We believe this puts us on a trajectory, including contribution from Cursor, to reach $100 billion of ARR, or annualized revenue run rate, by the end of this year, based on our expected revenue in the month of December of this year.
Market likes this.
With that, I'll turn the call back to Andrea.
Thank you, Elon, Gwen, and Brett. This concludes our prepared remarks. For
Someone
today's
asked
Q&A
about
session,
Mars.
we will take our first questions from the equity analysts. Please
Ask about-
press *1 to join the question queue, and also please limit yourself to one question. Operator,
Say
please
Mars.
proceed with the queue.
We will now begin the question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press *1 to raise your hand. To withdraw your question, press *1 again. We ask that you pick up your handset when asking a question to allow for optimum sound quality. If you are muted locally, please remember to unmute your device. Please stand by while we compile the Q&A roster.
Compile it to whoever's going to say Mars or ask a question about Mars.
Your first question comes from the line of Eric Sheridan with Goldman Sachs. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Come on, Eric.
Thanks so much for taking the question, and thanks for all the details in the prepared remarks. Maybe just one on the connectivity segment. Can you discuss the backlog of enterprise and government contracts in that segment of the business?
That's a
and how
fair
we
question.
think about that backlog converting into revenue and what that might mean for the pace and cadence of growth in the next couple of years? Thanks so much.
Yeah, we are quite bullish on our enterprise activities. I mentioned alone that we received from the government over $6 billion in contracts. Those are you can look at those as tranches and beginnings of additional capability that we will bring online. some of which we will have to compete, but fundamentally we have the contracts in place to fulfill many phenomenologies, both the ones we've recently announced, as well as additional ones that we'll be working on going forward. Enterprise revenue is quite sticky. We have never lost an enterprise customer. They're quite happy with the Starlink capability that we have right now. Brett mentioned we are only 10% penetrated in the aviation industry, which definitely represents a lot of headroom for revenue going forward. Maritime, I think, is Starlink opens up the TAM dramatically. Starlink offers the capability that ships that don't really have much connectivity right now because they can't afford VSATs, we can basically outfit those ships with Starlink Maritime. So I'm quite bullish on enterprise, very bullish on government, and quite happy with the stickiness that we've seen in those markets.
Yeah, I'll just elaborate a little bit on that, which is that obviously in order to secure a large amount of enterprise revenue, you have to demonstrate and very high reliability, very high uptime. And in the early days, Starlink did not have high uptime. And there's a lot of enterprise customers, most enterprise customers, I'd say, that still have that maybe early Starlink experience where it was a little patchy. So we actually we're building up a large enterprise sales team just to go out there, meet with enterprise, basically corporate and government customers, show them the incredible uptime and low latency of the Starlink system today, so they realize that they can actually treat Starlink as a primary provider, not sort of as a backup provider. This requires just going out there, talking to people, educating them about the current state of the Starlink system and where it's going. And I would expect enterprise revenue to substantially exceed consumer revenue.
Next question, operator.
Your next question comes from the line of Adam Jonas with Morgan Stanley. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Ask about Mars.
Thanks. Elon, first one for you. Just confirming, you said you expect to be closer to 10 gigawatts of nameplate compute by end of 27, closer to 10 than 5. Do you have line of sight? How confident is your line of sight on permitting, chips, and turbines for that? And then I have a follow-up for Gwen. Thanks.
So we're actually aiming to far exceed that gigawatt number in terms of power online, power cooling, and electrical equipment. So our tentative target is to actually have 20 gigawatts at the power and cooling level online by the end of next year. Now, I don't think we're going to achieve 20 gigawatts, but we want to have a series of projects that cumulatively come to 20 gigawatts by the end of next year. Some of them won't pan out exactly on time, but I would expect that we still probably have at the power plant level something close to 15 gigawatts. So assuming that maybe a quarter of the projects take longer than expected. So our goal is to have far more power, cooling, and electrical equipment than we have GPUs. That's like the logical thing to do given the relative expense of GPUs versus balance of system. SpaceX as a company is incredibly good at hardware. In fact, I'd say probably outside of China, SpaceX and Tesla are the two best companies on Earth at hardware. Yeah, and I think perhaps even including China. So we're taking a small amount of the expertise that we use for rockets and satellites and applying that to scaling terrestrial data centers. And we're finding that even a small amount of what we've learned building rockets, which are incredibly difficult, applied to data centers yields tremendous benefits. So yeah, we expect to have far in excess of the power and cooling that's needed. And then our understanding with NVIDIA is that we will receive a very significant percentage of their GPUs next year. Okay.
Thanks, Elon. Just Gwen, just a follow-up. you were recently asked what is one of the more underappreciated parts of the SpaceX investment story, and you said robotics. Can you elaborate on why you believe that? How do robots fit into the SpaceX TAM?
Dude,
Thanks, Gwen.
Mic is so shitty. Get a mic, dude.
Let me try to put something together for you. I think what I might have said is underappreciating the amount of connectivity that we will need going forward. And I think robotics, especially robotics tied to AI, like for autos and humanoid robots, will dramatically increase the demand for connectivity. Dramatically. Elon talked about that in his remarks.
I mean, you can think about satellites as being robots. I mean, they're autonomous and they do not need servicing. So, and then, you know, in the sort of what may seem the far future, but will come faster than you think, you know, using robots on the moon to scale up manufacturing on the moon, which I know it sounds like super sci-fi right now, but it's going to happen.
What's past the moon?
Will enable us to build the mass accelerator on the moon. And if you have a mass accelerator on the moon and you have solar and radiator production on the moon, you can, I know this sounds totally nuts, but you can probably scale to 1,000 times the economy of Earth in terms of intelligence launched to space, but probably, you know, maybe even 1,000,000 times.
Just say it.
You know, we are going to land a lot of tonnage on the moon. We're going to build the factories on the moon. The robots will be helpful with that. And then it's like, well, how much intelligence would you like as we, you know, grow towards being a Kardashev 2 scale civilization?
Did that get that for you, Adam?
Your next question comes from the line of John Godden with Citigroup. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
He was so close.
Hey, thanks for taking my question. One of the hallmarks of SpaceX to date is how efficiently the organization has used capital so far in its journey. But it's also no secret that the capital needs are significant to support your vision from here. Obviously, the company's moving fast. So I was hoping you could talk a bit more about the CapEx outlook across the segments, touch upon any areas where buying versus building might accelerate growth. The mobile strategy obviously comes to mind there. And any related thoughts on capital needs for next steps in extreme vertical integration like Terafab, anything that's needed to support future growth. Thanks.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. I think we are very proud of how we have managed capital allocation over the years, for sure. You know, I think we are continuing down that path, right? If you look at it, we have been very efficient to date, and I think we'll continue to be. You know, if you look at the rest of this year, to answer specifically on CapEx, I think you should probably think that the next 2 quarters are very similar to the current quarter from a CapEx level perspective. But I do think, you know, as you look at longer term, I think CapEx really, I think for our perspective is all CapEx is not the same, right? What we're seeing right now is a situation where we're able to deploy, specifically on the AI compute side, we're able to deploy capital in such a way that we're getting less than a 1-year payback. It's almost like your capital is becoming almost you know, an item that you would put otherwise in COGS because it's moving so quickly in, as far as monetization and moving into revenue. That's different than, I would say, historically on the SpaceX level where, you know, we're building assets that are going to benefit us from launch sites for the next couple of decades. And so we certainly manage for, you know, optimizing ROI on our capital, you know, all the time from that perspective.
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to that. You know, as Brett mentioned, we are expecting to reach 100 billion plus ARR in December of this year. And it's probably also worth mentioning that our internal projections for reaching $1 trillion in revenue, not ARR, but revenue, have moved up from 2031 to 2030. So prior to the IPO, you know, financial projections we had were reaching $1 trillion in revenue in 2031. We now expect that to be in 2030. And there's a non-zero chance of that being in 2029.
Your next question comes from the line of Ronald Epstein with Bank of America. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Could you walk through what you learned on Starship Launch 13? What was better than expected? What was worse? And then, how do we think about this in the journey to kind of rapid reusability, the heat shields, so on and so forth?
Sure. So actually Flight 13, I was a little worried about that Flight 13, because think of Apollo 13, like things went wrong on that flight, but this flight actually went incredibly well. The heat shield appears to be very robust. The ship is still floating in the ocean, and we expect to recover the ship and bring it back for analysis. So I'd say things look very good. And that's why we, assuming we receive regulatory approval to do so, we'll attempt to catch the ship with the tower on the next flight, which is tentatively scheduled for the end of this month. We expect the cadence of flights to be increasing rapidly, and probably a year from now, we will be doing at least one flight a day, possibly more.
Your next question comes from the line of Doug Anmuth with J.P. Morgan. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Thanks so much for taking the questions. Elon, can you elaborate on the key unlocks from leveraging your rockets and satellite expertise just in accelerating the pace of compute build out? And then totally appreciate the $6.7 billion in incremental compute deals. Can you talk more about just how you expect the supply-demand environment to persist going forward and whether you'll be able to keep this kind of premium pricing for these deals and sustainability? Thanks.
Sure. Well, as the saying goes, normally they would say this ain't rocket science. Well, actually, rocket science is literally our daily business. And rocket science is a idiomatic expression for extreme technological difficulty, and there's a reason for it. Because the thing, let me tell you what rockets desperately want to do every flight. They desperately want to blow themselves into tiny pieces. But then the engineering struggle is to convince the rocket not to blow itself into tiny pieces and actually deliver payload to orbit. But you'll note that some of our competitors do in fact blow their rockets up. This is not a reflection on their. This does not mean they're incapable. In fact, I think our competitors are very smart people. But despite being very smart, the rockets still blow up. So now, if you apply a small amount of the engineering skill that goes into making gigantic rockets reach orbit on a regular basis reliably to terrestrial data centers, this is like, frankly, the New York Yankees going in and playing a little league team, and it's kind of ridiculous, frankly. This is like the terrestrial data centers are a trivial problem compared to making gigantic reusable rockets, and which are launched frequently. And the Starlink satellites also are like alien level technology. There's still nothing that compares to our Starlink V2 satellites, and our V3 satellites are really more than an order of magnitude better than our V2 satellites. So you take a small percentage of that engineering applied to terrestrial data centers, and you get an amazing outcome. So that's what we're seeing. Yeah. Now, from a monetization standpoint, if you say what's my best guess for monetization per watt of say Rubens, my guess is would be somewhere between $30 and $50. This is just a guess. I'm just take a guess as a guess. But what we're seeing with AI is that the intelligence per watt is increasing rapidly. So that means the usefulness per watt is increasing rapidly. And I think anyone who's a close follower of the AI arena, you start seeing smaller and smaller models do more and more amazing things. There's an argument that we may get to the point where even an H100 is able to deliver useful AI that's comparable to a human engineer. Based on current trends, I think that's not an impossible outcome. So then it's like, how useful would that be? I think the usefulness is going to be extremely high. I mean, if you think of like, where was AI 12 months ago? I mean, this is 12 months ago, would have been August last year. That would have been before the advent of Claude 4.5, which I think should be considered one of the milestones and a credit to Anthropic. I would say a shock to the system was how good Claude 4.5 was. And that was, 10 months ago, basically. And if you say, well, what about an AI 2 years ago? I think, well, an AI 2 years ago feels like something that should be in a museum, okay? Where you're like, you're not going to believe this, but 2 years ago, this was AI. This relic.
Cracking himself up.
I think, by the end of next year, it's not clear to me that there's anything that digital, at least, that AI won't be able to do, based on the current rate of improvement. Then look at the rate at which logic and memory is being produced. And one must always consider the limiting factor here. Limiting factor currently is memory. The memory output is increasing by around 20% per year. Now, normally that would be fantastically fast and amazing for any large mature industry. But ask yourself, is the demand increasing by 20% a year? No, the demand is increasing by 200% a year, maybe higher. So, if you've got demand increasing much faster than supply, then economics 101 would suggest that the price increases. It does not decrease.
Your next question comes from the line of Edison Yu with Deutsche Bank. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for taking our question. Wanted to come back on the comment about the 100 billion in ARR. Is there any way you can unpack that a little bit and perhaps kind of what it takes to get there? And then in relation to that, Elon, I know you mentioned you pulled the revenue target forward by a year. Can you maybe call out maybe a few things that gave you this extra confidence? Thank you.
Well, on the unpacking, I think that the key there is it's really growth in all three of the business segments. But the biggest piece is, and we already talked about, additional business we've already closed in the first couple of weeks of July on the AI cloud services side. But certainly, as you know, we've already announced some previous deals with Google and Anthropic that start to ramp either later this quarter or in October. And so there's a lot of momentum from that side of the business, as well as we're seeing strength in our own models and Cursor coming into the fold as well. So it's really all three segments that are driving that, but the cloud services piece being the largest contributor of that piece.
Yes, to be clear, the 100 billion ARR in December is not a question mark. That's what we'd achieve if we basically did nothing. So, I think it may be higher than that. It probably will be higher than that. I think in terms of the relative percentage of, breakdown of like what revenue generates what, I think the breakdown is probably similar to what we shared pre-IPO. It's just happening a year sooner. I will go back to what I said and what Gwen and Brett mentioned earlier, which is that we do expect a very rapid increase in revenue from Starlink communications from the V3 satellite. because like I said, it's more than 10 times the capability of the V2 satellite, and we'll be launching 10 times as many, and we have the direct to sell constellation going up as well. So so sometimes people are looking at the sort of historical growth of Starlink based on V2, but we have a step change, a massive step change happening with the V3 satellite.
Your next question comes from the line of John Hodulik with UBS. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
You know what to ask about.
Great. Thank you. Two things. First, Elon, just following up on that comment on Starlink Mobile. When do you expect to start launching the V2s? Can you talk about your appetite for additional spectrum after the EchoStar deal? And then just how big do you think that the opportunity is in mobile? And if you could compare that to the broadband business, that would be great. And then secondly, just a quick follow-up on the compute. Looks like you have a big ramp in compute coming in 2027. How should we think of that capacity being leased versus used for to train Grok? I guess in other words, how much of that has to be withheld to train Grok versus that can be leased out to third parties? Thanks.
I'll go ahead and take the Starlink mobile questions, John. We're going to start flying the next generation Starlink mobile satellite. It's confusing. It's actually the second version, as opposed to the V3, which is the broadband, next generation broadband satellite. We're going to start flying those next year. And just so you understand, currently the system that we're operating uses about 5 megahertz of bandwidth. And we operate that through local telco providers. We have 65 megahertz of bandwidth available to us through the EchoStar spectrum, which gives massive increase in capability. Another way to look at it is we were also probably 10x the number of satellites. So simplifying, you could look at the Starlink mobile leveraging this, the next generation satellite and the EchoStar spectrum as being 100 times better, 10 times 10 better than what we've got right now. And it's a pretty decent service. You can do voice and video calls over Signal and WhatsApp. So we anticipate really strong uptake of that capability. As far as revenue, I'm just going to take a very high level kind of top down. The big three in the United States, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mo, roughly between them $600 billion a year. And I anticipate us to be able to acquire quite a few of their customers because I think our service will be better. We will eliminate dead zones, leveraging basically the satellites in orbit. It'll be better during any sort of natural disaster because surprisingly, even though space movies make space look super dangerous, is a pretty quiescent environment. So I'm quite excited about Starlink Mobile going forward. We will start to fly the satellites next year, and we will start providing service end of next year.
You're next.
I guess I should elaborate on. We obviously have more than one question being asked here, but obviously if somebody's trying to create a financial model, some of these questions are you have to plug in some number here. So for Grok training, we do expect the percentage of compute that we use internally for Grok training to decrease over time and to have far more of the compute used for inference or for renting training and inference compute to others. So I would expect maybe 10% of our compute to be used for Grok training, something like that.
Your next question comes from the line of Katgun Marl with Evercore ISI. Your line is open. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, and thanks for taking the question. I had a follow-up on Starlink Mobile and your ambitions in the U.S. market in particular. I think a lot of us are trying to better understand what a U.S. direct-to-consumer service could look like. To become a true fourth U.S. carrier would imply well over $100 billion of mobile capex over time, much of it auction spectrum and greenfield infrastructure. So how are you weighing that potential build plan against an MVNO or acquisition path? And what's your internal base case on how far you'll take this ambition? Or is this all a little bit too premature at this point? Thank you.
The spectrum that we purchased from EchoStar does have terrestrial components, so we definitely intend to build out the terrestrial component. So you will have not only the capacity from the satellites themselves, but you will have a build out of the terrestrial, basically the hardware and systems necessary to make a true mobile service exactly what you want it to be. I'm not going to talk about the CapEx for that. It's a little, well, I don't want to say it's immature. I'm just going to say I'm not going to talk about the CapEx for that right now. But let's talk a little, let me give a little hint, and that is you could put a base station, a cellular base station on basically the gear that holds a Starlink broadband dish. So you can have kind of these little femtocells around the country, and you deploy that as you need it. You don't have to necessarily spend, 10 or many billions of dollars in low band spectrum all upfront before you deploy your system. So that's why I don't want to talk about the CapEx for building out the terrestrial, because we have a lot of really kind of great and new ideas for how we're going to do that. And I think it will be quite CapEx efficient.
Yeah, that point is probably worth just a few more words, which is that because this is quite an important point. Instead of having to deploy these very expensive and difficult to locate large cellular base stations, we feel reasonably confident that we can deploy a large number of sort of small stations, essentially, that they're really just Starlink dishes that also provide connectivity in the mobile spectrum bands, and have them be all over the place. And the Starlink antennas are located in on the roofs of houses and businesses. So they're that they've got a sort of a clear view to for providing connectivity directly to cell phones on the ground, and in fact providing connectivity that is, we think, probably better and higher bandwidth than what is currently available from cellular providers. This is an important point.
Thank you. With the remaining time, we would like to cover some of the questions from individual shareholders. I will read them aloud. We got a lot of questions on the progress for Starship human landing system. Can we provide any updates?
Say, Mars, save me.
For Starship, well, obviously we need to make Starship super reliable for satellites before we put any people on board. But we are expecting to have a very high launch rate and thus achieve a level of safety needed for humans very quickly, probably by the end of next year.
As far as the milestones go, propellant transfer in orbit is critical to our both our internal SpaceX as well as our HLS ambitions. Artemis 3 mission is next year. That's where we will dock with the Orion spacecraft. We will follow that up with a direct to lunar cargo mission, uncrewed. And then we want to put boots on the ground, boots on the moon in 2028.
What's after the moon? Just tell me the next thing after the moon.
For the Cursor acquisition, there were several questions asking about the combined product roadmap for the companies once it closes.
I think we'll leave that to, we'll probably make some announcement or discussion of that outside of the earnings call. But we don't want to jump the gun on regulators for the closing the acquisition. So we're trying to get the acquisition closed as quickly as possible. I think we're pretty close to that, but we have to be wary of sort of jumping the gun on regulatory closures.
Next question from the individual shareholders. Once you start launching broadband V3 satellites, how quickly will they translate into improved Starlink service?
Well, so we'd need some critical mass of V3 satellites probably at least on the order of about 1,000. But probably that's, I mean, approximately second quarter next year would be, I think, where we'd get to that point.
And our last question, is the heat shield the hardest remaining problem for Starship?
Look, I don't want to jinx it or anything, but I think I'd consider the heat shield problem solved at this point. Now we want to take a close look at the ship that is currently floating in the ocean, but all indications from data and our visual inspection suggest that that we have solved the heat shield problem, which is arguably the single biggest problem. That doesn't mean we won't make improvements to the heat shield. Of course, we'll continue to make improvements to the heat shield, but I would say that we do not see any technical obstacles at this point to achieving full and rapid reusability.
Thank you. This concludes today's call. You can reach us at ir.spacex.com.
I got murked on saying Mars, but I crushed NVIDIA. I crushed StarMine. So, hey. So SpaceX beat on top and bottom line. That's the real story, but the stock is down 6.8%. The major hit that I'm seeing is a lot of theoretically we have this figured out, not a lot of concrete stuff. And the subscribers were a little bit less for Starlink, a little bit less than the whisper number. Before you guys go, just want you guys to know I'll be streaming once again 9 a.m. tomorrow for Market Open, all the hottest news if you want to tune in. And in the meantime, you can watch this recent video of me kind of explaining why the market is about to absolutely rip it. The video was just posted. Once again, the Matt Kohrs Show, wherever you're watching it right now. Check this video. And other than that, I'll see you at 9 a.m. bright and early tomorrow. I hope you crushed it in whichever way you play the market. I hope you make a bunch of money. I appreciate you guys stopping by, and I'll catch you later. Have a good one. Peace.